everyone. Welcome to Achieving Success with Olivia Atkin. I'm your host, Olivia Atkin. Each week, we will discuss the roadmap of achieving your personal and professional success. We give you real-life stories on growing personally and professionally to achieve your life and career goals with the help of some top-notch guests. Today, we are speaking with Heather Hansen O'Neill. Heather Hansen O'Neill is an international keynote speaker, author, and trusted coach. Heather is passionate about helping individuals and teams break through barriers like confusion, apathy, inertia to create meaningful, impactful results. Her framework, The Elements of Adventure, focuses on grounding yourself in purpose, building strong relationships, sparking inspiration, and taking bold action to transform ideas into reality. With years of experience guiding leaders, entrepreneurs, and teams, Heather's unique approach combines heart and strategy to not only drive success, but also create a positive impact on the world. You can find Heather on LinkedIn by searching Heather Hansen O'Neill or by going to her website, heatherhanseno'neill.com. Hello, Heather. It's fantastic having you on the show.
Thank you so much, Olivia. I'm thrilled to be here. This is going to be a lot of fun.
I'm so excited because you and I have talked about some amazing things you've done, how personal side of things and adventures lead to growing professionally. And I cannot wait to dive into that conversation. But to start off the show, can you tell me what success means and looks like to Heather Hansen O'Neill?
Ooh, okay. Well, I will tell you that it has changed through the years. So I've had my business for about 25 years now. And in the beginning, to be honest, success used to be about, being on the biggest stages, the accolades, the income, all of that kind of things that are traditionally known as success. But it's not that way anymore. I mean, I still like those things, but the reality is for me, I consider success when I'm helping people, when I see, who they are, what's possible, and then I help pull that out of them. And it's like one transformation at a time. It doesn't have to be big because actually, I think that if you do the one transformation at a time, if you're truly focused on one individual, it will create its own ripple effect. And that's success.
I think that's so important to understand where we need to focus our time right now and how instead of sometimes trying to accomplish 100 different goals at one time, there can be way more power in identifying where today is the most purposeful for me, where I need to start, how is that going to affect a lot of things. Personally, myself, having a background, a certification in project management, I always look at, okay, what is the overall goal we want to be working on? But with a project management background and supply chain, you have to look at all the small things that go into that and how, if there is a delay in the time frame of one aspect of that goal, how it's going to play that ripple effect. And if you meet it early, the ripple effect it can have, and understanding that there can be 10 different milestones in that one larger goal. And when I have found when you look at the smaller goals and you take them one by one, it makes the bigger goal feel a lot more doable than if you just look at the long-term goal.
Oh, I totally agree with you. And I'll put on, I'm not a project manager, but I live my life as if I were one. I play one on TV. So so I understand what you're talking about. And the way that I have this I created it's called the aligned time management tool. And basically I use it myself. Like every Sunday, I have my big goals that I look at, and then I chunk everything down and I think, okay, what are the most important things that I have to do this week that contribute to my major goal? And I put them in the calendar like I would a doctor's appointment. I adhere to it, right? And so what you're talking about is really important for people to be able to make the most of their time and achieve the goals that they want.
And I think it's something that when we, as you say, adhere to those tasks and meet those goals, again, it's breaking it down even farther. So, and when we say, okay, I don't have a choice, I got to get this done, it allows us to not bend and change the rules of the game and those deadlines and
Mhm.
as much or as easily, because now we're also holding ourselves accountable. We're building those things into the day.
Mhm.
Whereas I've seen people talk about that long-term goal or not put in the day-to-day tasks, and then they get through the day and things come up or they get stressed and they then don't want to do them. But I've personally found, and Heather, would love to hear your input on it as well, as like for myself, I feel way better once I know everything's done for the day. I've checked everything off. And even when, and it makes me stronger when I go, oh, there's these two other tasks, and I'm just like done for the day, right? But like, I know there's these two outstanding tasks I got to do. Like, I got to push through, which then makes when other days are tough, me
Mhm.
say to myself, okay, I can push through. I got this.
Yeah. Oh, you're so spot on, and it's two things that you've hit on here, and one is how when we are doing the things that align with who we want to be, it reinforces that and it helps us to, like you said, be stronger, more resilient, to be able to make it through the even more difficult times. You're building that muscle. That's one part of what you talked about. But the other thing I wanted to touch on is the fact that when we know our energy, right? The times of the day that we're most energized, or we simply want to prioritize the most important thing that's going to take a little time or is a little bit more challenging to do that first. I'm a morning person. So I like to get those difficult things or the bigger projects done in the morning. And then the rest of the day, I can do other things that are important, but then it also enables me to throw in a little fun.
Exactly. And that actually just resonated a story
Mm.
that I went to speak at a university at a, the way we broke up the day was I would just go to different classes instead of doing a whole like gymnasium full of people. And so I was in this class and the they're graduate students and we're talking about this specific class was a supply chain class. So we're talking about things and I kind of touched upon what you and I are talking about right now. And mentioned how I build everything in and it's about the short goals that will lead to things. And a student raised their hand and they were like, well, how do you get the things done you don't want to do? Right? Like, how do you build that in to make sure they still get done? And I said, well, tell me, like, use an example for yourself. And he's like, certain homework, right? If I know that I have classes, I have this, and it's a homework assignment I really don't want to do or I'm struggling with it. He's like, how do you build that in? And I said, and there's certain things in anyone's day to day, whether it's a specific task in their job or we all have it. And anyone says that there aren't tasks in their day to day, and it might be like a week or a month where it's just like you look at what you got to do that week and you're just like, ugh, I don't want to do this week. But you got to do it. I said, and I'm a morning person myself too. And I said to him, when that hits, I first acknowledge it and go, okay, I guess this is not what I want to be doing this week. And last week, I was like so excited to be doing it, but it's just the mood of it. And I said, and that's when I put it on the first thing of my day. And I time block I have to spend an hour doing this on this day, blah, blah, blah. And I said, and then when I get it done, everything else seems better. And then it's like that reward too, like you said, to throw in fun. And the benefit is when you throw in that fun, now you can really enjoy it instead of having this dangling carrot going like, hey, you got this task left to do. You don't want to do it, right? There's
Absolutely.
always that piece of the brain that
Mhm.
it's just like dangling there when you don't accomplish the things
Yeah.
you have to get done.
Agreed. Agreed.
So, Heather, I brought up in the description how you really help people, whether it's an individual or teams, build out the elements of adventure, as you call them. So the purpose, relationship, inspiration, action. As if every leader suddenly woke up tomorrow with one new mindset skill or shift that could completely transform their team or organization, what do you think out of those four it should be and why?
Hmm. Okay. So, the first thing that comes to mind actually isn't even on your list, and it's kind of funny because it's what precedes what was on your list. And that I would tell leaders that it's not about you. We think that as leaders, we're here for a reason and we have to lead and it's got to be about what we want, and the reality is it's not. And you are the biggest mindset shift is to come from service, to be able it'll completely transform you, it'll transform your environment, it will transform your teams and your organization when you start to think about how can I how can I really listen to my people? How can I give them what they need? How can I support them so that they can go out and support our customers and provide not just good service, but extraordinary service? How can I think beyond this team, beyond this company, to how can I serve my community? How can I do more that is bigger than me, bigger than profit, bigger? Because that's really how you create a space where people want to show up, where they are engaged, where they're excited, where everyone's working together and they're aligned and they are creating raving fans out in the world.
And I think as well is identifying that not everyone needs you to show up in the same way for them. A lot of
Yeah.
times we all need different things, right? Because we're
Yeah.
all unique.
Yeah.
So, based on what you just said, how do you also talk to an individual or a team to go, you need to also be sitting there and identifying how you need to show up for other people so
Mhm.
that they are heard, so you can connect with them and make sure that you are serving them in the best way possible so that they can serve others.
Yeah. It's it's leading by example. So if you want your people to do the right things, right? You like listening to understand and trying to figure out how to solve a problem, how to get out of negativity and get excited. If you want them to do that, you have to do that, right? And so it's you can call it trickle down, you can call it ripple effect, whatever you want to call it, but the reality is that when you are there and you're present and you're listening to understand and to serve and to give, then you're going to provide that example for them to do forward.
And there many teams struggle with inertia and apathy, especially during challenging times and change, because a lot of times they go hand in hand to some extent,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
What strategies do you recommend for leaders to reignite motivation and foster a sense of ownership within their teams?
Hmm. Okay. Well, I'm going to talk first about the individual, right? So, and then we'll translate it to the company, to the organization. So, for an individual who wants to reignite that passion, that purpose, and if they're a little bit like, I don't know what I'm passionate about. Nothing's really getting me excited right now, but there is. You just may not associate it as this. There's this flashlight of this is my purpose, right? So you think about what's that thing that wakes you up at 3 o'clock in the morning? What's that thing that makes you talk just a little bit faster or maybe lean in a little bit when you're having a conversation with a really good friend? What is that thing that when you think about it, you smile? That thing that you could talk about all day long. That's where you start. You start with what fans your flame, right? And then you look at how it might be able to be something that you can evolve into a business initiative. We're talking about businesses, right? When that's the same thing when you're in an organization that actually, they have said that's something bigger. We're going to tie it back to what you asked me before, right? What is the purpose? The purpose is, some companies are purpose driven, they're called, right? They're mission driven. They have that thing, not the thing on the wall. I'm not talking about the words that we say that people could rattle off because it's there, they pass it all the time. But it's that thing in their hearts, that thing that we know that when anybody's asked, it may sound just a little bit different because it's not rote, right? But it's that thing like, oh, you know what we believe in? We believe that we are going to be the best in this area so we can serve this need and that it will translate to perfecting this thing or solving this problem for the community or whatever it might be for them. Everybody can align behind something that's bigger than them, right? But it starts with the spark. It starts with that spark of what gets you excited.
And I love how you bring up it's what are you talking about the most? What ignites you? What gets you excited to talk about it? Because it can be wrapped into a single task. It could be something as well where you're like, I've had X and Y experiences, and now like there's these questions, or I want to look into this more, or I want to do this. And when I and it could be like that light bulb that's just that, the flipped on and it's that bright flame and it's just telling you go, like here it is. And it could be that thing that happens organically over time. Like you said, when you listen, it's there and you might just not yourself know it's there yet. And
Yeah.
I've seen that on both ends. And I'll say both examples. The first was with my business and my podcast, Achieving Success. And so when I started the podcast, Achieving Success LLC launched the same day, but I was working full time and I was doing the recordings. The podcast was growing very quickly. And I'm like, I just want to talk to more people. I just like love this. And I love the
See?
responses. And Heather, this is a podcast person. When you start and you're getting that traction, it's like you're going into the casino. You're like, I want to check my stats. I want to know. I start going on multiple times a day. I was like, let me just pull it up. And then when I left Lockheed Martin, it was, am I looking for something else? What am I doing? And everyone, my consulting side of the business was originally career development. But I'd go into a networking thing and someone start asking me about podcasting. And I would go on like a 20-minute spiel about how amazing it is, the community. Have you thought about this? Have you done that? Like just going in 20 directions. And for me, it was just something I was passionate about, right? That wasn't originally the idea of the consulting side. And I didn't even notice like how deep dive I was going into it until people started pointing it out. And it wasn't the first person, wasn't the second. It was like, we were getting to the 10th and everyone's like, when I bring this up, you're just like changing the game. And you're telling me things like I would have never thought of in the way you're saying. And I was like, oh, wait.
Yeah.
Did I just take everything I've done up to this point and all these other experiences and, the project management, the supply, like all these other things, and I can leverage all of those experiences for this. Is this where I'm sitting now, right? And so that was a time where it wasn't like the bright light just turns on and you're like, here you are.
Yeah.
And then from that experience, when I recently launched my second business, I noticed those, right? So conversations would come up, and it's an apparel company for Coast Guard members and families and veterans and people who just want to support the U.S. Coast Guard. And I have the supply chain. I've worked in the apparel industry, creating apparel and dealing with distributors and stuff before. And so I'd just be having conversations and hearing people's stressors or try to help them navigate it if they're doing orders. And I was like, could I help? And it got in my brain of just like through these multiple conversations and nothing being there for others. And I'm like, okay, it's sitting back here. It's back here. And why is like, and after like a handful of times where all of a sudden it'd be the only thing I could focus on all day is like,
Mhm.
how can I do this? And I'm like, the light's been switched on. And I know I need to listen to this light right now
Mhm.
and it being on to be able to go full steam ahead and also be present in these others. Like there's a reason this is nagging at me. And I think when we listen to that, so much can be told
Mhm.
and about ourselves and where we are today and where we could potentially go and how we could help people.
Yeah. I'd like to add to that too, Olivia, because you really hit on something important there. Sometimes, and I can't even tell you how many coaching clients this has happened with. So sometimes you need to be the mirror, right? So that they can see themselves, right? Where you're like, oh, it wasn't until the 10th person that said this that I realized it. It happens a lot where people don't even realize because something comes easy to them or something's exciting to them and it's so exciting that it wouldn't feel like a job, right? These are the things that people are like they're looking for their purpose or their passion and it's literally right there. And they have no idea that they have this special gift. What, you mean everybody can't do that? No, everybody can't do that. That is your gift. And so so that's one thing is to recognize that if it does come very easily for you, if you do something really well, or if it's really exciting, you might be brushing it off, but the reality is that might be the thing. So dive deeper into that. And the other thing that you brought up that I wanted to mention is that while you're figuring that out, like if you're an individual leader, right, and you're trying to figure it out, in the meantime, your purpose could literally be how am I making a difference for this one person right here, right now in front of me? Because time and time and time again, if you just become present in that, you're making a difference and they will come back and be like, that was exactly what I needed. Thank you so much. That transformed my day. That transformed my life, whatever it might be. And if you're not present, that will be missed.
And I think it's also, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, being present for yourself and what
Yeah.
that really means in your
Hmm.
own experiences, in the things you're doing. I
Hmm.
think it's so important to be present for others and what's going on in their lives and really taking the time to listen and be there when someone needs you to be there. And again, no one's perfect. So, like, let's be completely clear. You might like be as present as you can be because there could be all these things going on in your head while you're there, right? But
Hmm.
it's also going during times for me, whether that's working times or personal times, I need to also be present for myself so that I can build myself up, that I can grow as an individual as well.
It has to be done first. And so, you said, what do you think about this too? I'm 100% in agreement. And I think that women in particular, but everyone do this, that they're so busy nurturing, they're so busy caring, they're so busy doing, they're so busy proving, they're so busy all of these other things that they forget to do the thing that will enable them to keep doing all of that. Right? And that's filling yourself, taking care of yourself. It's aligning with who you really are supposed to be, what makes you feel really good, what re-energizes you. That has to happen so that you can be better in all of your roles. It comes first.
And I think that is something that a lot of us, as you just mentioned as well, do not do.
Oh
We
yeah.
do not put that aspect first. We put it last. So
Yeah.
as that's happening, how do you have conversations with clients on are you putting this first? What does that really look like? And how do you hold yourself accountable to make sure that it's actually happening?
Yes. Oh gosh. Okay, these are all really good. So first, there's a couple of different things here. First, how do you recognize it? You recognize it actually by coming back to your body. Your body's going to tell you before you realize it, right? So if you're feeling that tension in your shoulders, in your jaw, you're feeling really stressed out, maybe your face or your chest is getting really red, your heart is racing a little bit, like you're not even realizing it. But if you get back to the breath on your body will tell you, I need to step back. I need to recharge. I need to breathe deeply and right size my heart rate, right? And so that's one way that you can know. But recognizing is just the first part. And then you mentioned accountability, right? So you can recognize it and then you can start to put it into your calendar. When we go back to our project management or the aligned time management that I was talking about, put it into your calendar. This isn't something that should be that you wait until you're completely stressed out and you're snapping at people. Make it a part of your living, right? Because we're not just okay, we're worker bees now and then we're at home. No, we need to be congruent, right? So include it into the schedule. But then some of the reasons why people will reach out to you or to me or to anyone that does what we do is for that accountability. I mean, you can use a friend as someone who can hold you accountable. You can have a coach. You can work with someone within an organization, a mentor. This is really important. The accountability is key because sometimes, like we were talking about before, someone else can see something before you do.
And I think it's one of those things too, is like how, when we talk about the accountability aspect of it as well, is like, how much do you really want it?
Mhm.
And I think that's something we all have to ask ourselves, because if we want it bad enough, we really do need someone that will hold us accountable, that even on our worst days, someone's going, even because sometimes just saying we're going to hold ourselves accountable, we can give ourselves leeway sometimes. So you
Yeah.
need that person to be like, I want this, like, have you done this yet today?
Hmm.
Um, and talk through things as well, because there's times you go, okay, this is what I'm gonna do, right? And then this is what it looks like. And then you start having that discussion, and like you said, bouncing the ideas off, going, how is it gonna work? What's it going to look like? You get clarity from that. But sometimes when you're in the middle of something, you can't have that clarity without having people who stand next to you.
Yeah, a friend of mine put it this way. I thought it was brilliant. She said, you can't read the label on the bottle if you're inside of it, right? You need somebody else to read it for you. And so I think that, all of what you just mentioned, whether it's seeing something, whether it's talking through something, whether it's reminding the person of the goals that they said that they wanted, because frankly, when we hold ourselves accountable, we're master rationalizers. We can come up with reasons why this other thing is so important to this, but that's really just a fear or a limiting belief that is keeping us from the thing, taking the action toward that thing that we really are meant to do. And so that accountability is so important. I mean, think about when you go to the gym. If you know that somebody is waiting for you at the gym, are you more likely to get up in the cold and go, right? Than if it was just you going by yourself. You might say, "Oh, you know what? I can go tomorrow. I'll definitely go tomorrow. I don't need to today." But if they're there waiting, you'll go.
Mhm. For you, how do you hold yourself accountable and make sure that you, in your everyday life, especially when you're potentially going to do something new and unknown, don't let the fear take over and you actually go through with the action steps and everything else?
Yeah, I have a whole way that I go about doing this, right? So I reattach to my mission on a daily basis, right? I reaffirm that I am meant to do this mission. I put it into my calendar. I make sure to recharge so that I am energized to be able to do the actions that I have to do. I surround myself with people that lift me up and don't pull me down. I surround myself with people who have been where I want to go. Right? So I'm very intentional. I'm very purposeful in making sure that I have created the environment for myself to succeed. And then I encourage other people to do the same thing.
And I really like how you say at the end there as well that it's not, you're encouraging other people to do it as well. It isn't just about you and getting things done for yourself, but it's encouraging those people around you to grow, to challenge themselves, whatever it might be. For you, why is it important to also challenge and hold accountable the people around you?
Okay, well, for me, my specific mission is to impact 100,000 leaders. So it's part of my mission to do it, right? And so I thought, years ago, I thought, I'm the one who has to change the world. I've got to do it all. The reality is that I will have way more impact if I help other people create the impact that they have in their hearts, right? And that's just that can be huge, so much more than I could ever do alone. And so we're human beings in this human world meant to connect with others, meant to lift each other, serve each other, be together, to grow together. We are not meant to do it all ourselves. And when we can work together, like you and I, we had the conversation before, we're helping each other here, we're helping other people. That's what this is about.
And how do you personally sometimes, when you're pushed up against the wall? Because, like, let's be honest, I've personally been there too, where you're looking, whether it's, when I was growing my business and going, oh, we got to hit this number. And I'm backing myself up into a wall. And now all these things, and to some level, the fear setting in, because it's like, is it going to happen? And then, like, all these other things start to ripple down and have a
Yeah.
negative ripple effect
Oh,
instead of positive.
yeah,
Um,
I have a thing that happened just recently to answer you with that. Okay, so yes, I've been doing this for a while, and yes, I've got my own systems in place, but I'm a human being, right? And so we always are doing things where we're playing the cha-cha, which I say, yeah, I take a couple steps forward, I take a step back, we're that's the way it works. So this just recently happened. So I was remember I talked about how important it is to surround yourself with the right people. Well, I was having a call with someone that I consider one of those right people, right? And I was mentioning to her, I said, I think the universe is sending me very conflicting signals. I said to her, this is like Ms. Positive, right? And I said, I was doing a program and I was excited about it. And then that morning, 10 people said they weren't coming. And now I got to get psyched up. And and then the people who were there said it was really good. And I'm like going, this is so confusing. I don't understand. And she goes, no, this isn't confusing. She said, the reason why those people didn't come wasn't because of you. It was because they weren't ready to hear the message. Them not coming enabled the people who were there to hear the message and have more personalized attention so that they could get what they needed to take action because they were ready. And I was like, these are things that we need other people to say to us. Even though we may know them, if we were to, come from an aerial view, we always need to be around people who are telling us what we need to continue moving forward because, when we can't do it all alone.
and it's one of those things too where if we get too stuck in it, then it will hold us back. But it's also one of those things, and I forget the exact name because I heard this analogy and I love this analogy, is the aspect of the the cost of water is different in different environments.
Yep.
And it's, it might be free at a restaurant and it's just part of the service, but then you go to a convenience store and it might be $2. Different environment. Needs are different. The way people perceive the value of it is different. You go to an airport and it's $4 or $5 for the same water bottle. Again, the need is different. The value of how people are perceiving that bottle of water is different. The amount of money, because that the dollar amount is higher and they perceive the value being higher, they're more willing to pay for it. And so it's what room And what environment of that bottled water do you want to be in? Do you feel comfortable in?
Mm,
And again, if you go in and talk to someone, I'll kind of use this, like in the airport, they might see that very differently and go, I see the value in this. I need it. Let me do it. And I know the benefits of it. Whereas at home, when you're getting it for free, it's like, is there really value to this? So to your point, it also might be someone's at the at home stage. They don't see the benefits of it.
mhm.
And but someone also might be at the airport where your price points, the value you have, everything is like, this is a no-brainer. Of course this works. Of course this is what I need. And so reminding yourself that, and I know I've been there, I can bet you've been there, Heather, as well, as like, it's not the offer. It's not what I'm giving to other people. It's how they're perceiving it. And I can't, I could only do so much as an individual to make that perception of value there. And if you're not there, it doesn't matter how much I give to you, you're not going to see it.
Yes. That's really interesting because I'm a keynote speaker. So I'm in the speaking industry. And I think that we as speakers through the years have deteriorated the value because most speakers love what they're passionate about what they speak about, right? And they just want to go out and they want to speak to everybody like, I'll do it for free. And meanwhile, the reality is it's a tremendous amount of an investment in the education, the experience, the putting it all together to make sure that it's customized. There's so much that goes into it. And if we are out there devaluing that because we happen to like what we do, that's not going to work. When we focus on that value, what do we offer and bring it to the right people, bring it to the airport, Olivia, then you know that you're in the optimal environment, right, to be able to grow your business.
And it's also one of those things that you have to realize you have to kind of also bring up what you just said is I think there's power in going, I need to start here so that I can get to the airport.
Mhm.
Because there's you, kind of to your point, the aspect of speaking, there's so many people who want to speak now. And there's nothing wrong with that. But also, you have to understand that not everyone can be a speaker. And
Mhm.
there is that extra work that goes into it. It is honing your skills, it is engaging with people, it is, doing something different and getting that message. Like, there's a lot of training and time that goes into that. And people feel that and people resonate with that. So, not everyone is supposed to be a speaker. And sometimes there's the aspect of you might have to start out and you have to be willing to start out at that house water level so that you have the experience, you build on it,
Mhm.
that you might get to the airport water way faster, but also someone isn't someone feels confidence immediately to see that value. Because if you just go, I'm opening my doors today and I'm selling airport water, people are going to go, they're going to sniff that out very quickly. And I think there's sometimes you have to realize, where are you today, and kind of going back to our overall theme today, to then get to the place of, the small goals and the long-term goal to get to the airport water.
That's right. I love it.
For you, how do you continuously challenge yourself to say, okay, where am I today and how do I get to this next level?
Okay, so I'm an adventurer and I do crazy things to press outside of my comfort zone and then to share the lessons that I get from it with other people. So I will always go back to, am I too complacent right now? Have I not done an adventure lately? Do I need to get a little uncomfortable to grow? And I look at that and I'm constantly um, looking for ways to try new things to expand that comfort zone. So, not everyone has to jump out of an airplane or swim with sharks or, fly on the trapeze. You don't have to do that. I go do that because I have a ridiculously large comfort zone. But I encourage people, anyone, to just press outside of what's comfortable for them. And that might
Mhm.
mean picking up the phone and making a sales call. It may mean going over to someone that you don't know at a networking function. It may mean going on as a guest at a podcast. It may mean a multitude of things, but sitting with what is uncomfortable for me and then trying it will help expand that comfort zone so that you're ready. It's like practicing when that opportunity comes up, when that new job offer is available, when the promotion is there, when that person that takes your breath away walks in, you have the nerve to go over and say hello because you're ready.
I love that. And it's a great way because I can't believe we're at the end of today's show already. But it's a great last thing to leave everyone with because it is really preparing yourself that when that opportunity comes, you are ready, like you said. Heather, how can people get in touch with you if they want to connect with you?
I'm pretty easy. So Heather Hansen O'Neill, and it's Hansen and Oneill, can find me everywhere. It's my website, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, all of that fun stuff. I've got my podcast from Fear to Fire that Olivia is going to be coming on soon. I also have the Humanity of Sales radio show, and my fourth book is coming out soon. So you'll be able to find all of that on those sites.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Heather, for all of your insight today.
Thank you, Olivia. Have a beautiful day and keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you. And a few of our key takeaways from today's conversation includes it is about tackling one goal at a time and creating a ripple effect and identifying that when you tackle that one goal, you will end up creating that ripple effect like Heather mentioned earlier. As leaders, it is not about you and identifying that it is about others and providing that service and being a service to others really make you stand tall in your leadership, but will allow you to grow and put the team first and put other people first if you put that in, as well as what is the thing that makes you lean into a little bit more, the thing that ignites your flame, as Heather mentioned, that thing that gets you excited to talk about and you could spend all day talking about. And that will help you identify your passion and what you could be doing in different environments. It might be that small thing that you could take a step back and go, oh, wow, I could do this in all these different environments, right? One of Heather's things is speaking. She could go to a bunch of different organizations and ignite people's flames and talk on these topics. But speaking is that passion. So she's able to do it. So, really understanding and taking a minute sometimes and regrouping and going, where do I stand today? And what is that passion today? And how can I lean into it more? As well as sometimes you need someone to be the mirror so someone else can see what they're not seeing. And I love that because a lot of times we don't like fully realize that when you're talking to someone, they're kind of holding the mirror up to you based on the conversation. And it's going to help you go, oh, wait, this is what it is. So sometimes we need to be a mirror for someone else, like Heather mentioned, so that that other person can really see what they're not seeing yet. And same for us, sometimes we need to find those people, again, as Heather mentioned earlier, that friend, that colleague that can hold the mirror up for you, as well as how do you hold yourself accountable? Is it making a time block in the day? Is it leaning on a friend to go, hey, I need you to do this so that I can hold myself accountable? I think that's a great question that Heather brought up and she goes into it, but it's also something we all need to ask ourselves is how do I hold myself accountable? How am I holding my peers accountable as well as get uncomfortable to be able to grow. We all need to be in uncomfortable positions because it will teach us the most, as Heather said. And sometimes when we're identifying we're getting too complacent, we need to find that thing that is going to ignite us. Heather mentioned she's an adventurer. So for Heather, it's swimming with sharks, jumping out of airplanes, whatever it might be. But as she also mentioned, it might just be going and talking to someone you don't know, breaking that barrier, as well as what is uncomfortable for me? And that's the ending question and challenge I want to give to the listeners today is identify what does uncomfortable look like for you? And what is a small goal you could set today to start getting more comfortable with that thing? This was a great episode with our top-notch guest, Heather Hansen O'Neill. Thank you for listening and have a successful day.